All right, welcome back to Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Derek Havens, Mike Diabate, your host as always. No idea where Steve Balestrieri is, so I'm going to go ahead and put out some kind of a watch search on him. But knowing him, he's probably hunting down bad guys somewhere like a vigilante. Today
Mr.
we are,
Balestrieri's been detained,
yeah, he's been detained, probably maybe by his wife.
and he's sorry for his detainment.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We're so happy for any of you that are joining us live, or if you download us later, please do subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or our Patriots.com, PatriotsFans.com, yeah, or PatsFans.com YouTube channel, if I can speak correctly. That would be great. Today we have Pat Lane on. Super excited to have him. We followed each other on Twitter for a long time. He's been down in camp. He's a writer for Pat's Pulpit. If you don't follow him, please, you should. And Pat, how you doing today, man?
Doing great. Doing great. Happy to be here. Excited to talk some Patriots. I'm sure we'll get into some irrational trade conversations, which should be fun.
Oh, I was just about to bring up Micah Parsons, but we'll pause that for a quick second. Mike, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great, Derek. Always the best time of year. You're getting closer to preseason football. You're getting that much closer to regular season football, and you still got a lot of training camp left. What more can you ask for as a New England Patriots fan?
You can start feeling the buzz right about
Absolutely.
now. We're recording this Friday, August 1st. We're 1 week away from the Tom Brady statue unveiling, which I do want to touch on. We're for the first preseason game, joint practices, and there's a lot of trade talk. There's roster conversations, depth chart conversations, and we're like a month away from the season. So let's rock and roll, boys. So let's start off this. Pat, what would you trade for Micah Parsons?
So much. I would trade so much for Micah Parsons.
That's the news of the day. So.
I probably wouldn't give up 3 first-round picks, but I would definitely consider 2 first-round picks. The thing that you got to remember with the Khalil Mack trade, and the Khalil Mack trade is the trade that kind of everyone points to. I think they gave up 2 firsts, a third, and a fourth, I believe.
I think it was a 6th, not a 4th, but I think everything else.
Okay. So, but they did also get a 2nd-round pick back with Khalil Mack. And so they gave up all that stuff. They got a day 2 pick back. I think you could probably do something like that. I do think that Micah Parsons is better than Khalil Mack, but the asking price is going to be so high. When you send out the notes app, like the breakup notes app, that seems like, I don't know. Maybe they can come back from that, but I don't know if there's any coming back from that.
Well, it's hard because it's been public comments by Jerry Jones, which his whole thing was asinine. And then Parsons is obviously upset about the contract, and it is what it is. But then he says there's no conversation. I don't understand. I mean, I understand the fact that it's a hard deal to negotiate because he will end up being the highest paid defensive player in NFL history.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how you alienate that guy. It's the same way I feel like about Terry McLaurin. It's like, dude, it seems like you're squabbling over a couple $1 million. Like it's and which is obviously big money for the rest of us, but for NFL terms, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So
to me, it's the process. It's the process to me. The big issue that Parsons has is that they're trying to cut out the agent. He has an agent so that he can deal with this stuff. And instead of going to the agent and talking about it, they're going directly to Parsons to talk about it and trying to like go behind the agent's back. It's completely wild and asinine to me. And the fact that they're trying to do that, it tells me how out of touch they are, that they think that they can pull that kind of crap off. And it's crazy to me. And if they somehow don't re-sign Micah Parsons, they let him walk, I don't care what you get back for him. It will never be fair value because he's the best defensive player in football right now.
And you're going to have to pay him. So it's like, you're not going to get like people are talking about Khalil Mack. Like I saw Schefter tweet about that. You just brought it up. I do think it's a fair comparison for value, but I also would say now that it's public and it's kind of, now you kind of have like the argument like out in the open, it is gonna lower the value. That's just how the market's gonna work. So
Right.
it is what it is. Mike, the only reason I even brought this up to start is because the Patriots have the assets, they have the money, and as soon as the announcement was made, I had like three, because people knew that we were doing the show today. I had like three people tweet me being like, "Can we talk about Micah Parsons? Is that an option?" I wouldn't put a high percentage on it, but I mean, I wouldn't say no is no. I mean, he's such a versatile asset, such a great player. He's definitely in the conversation for the best defensive player in football at this point, and he's been so productive. I mean, I forget the exact number, but I know that I think he's had double-digit sacks in each 4 seasons so far, and the only other player ever to do that was Reggie White.
Yes.
So we're talking about elite, categories, with Parsons, and this is a player that is 26 years old, productive, versatile, special, tough, physical, violent, everything that you would want. And so what's your take on Parsons? What would you trade if we don't have to give like the exact value? Pat did a good job kind of laying out like what you would do, but what was a value that you would give up for him?
Yeah, I think Pat said it best. I think multiple first rounders is a little gamey for any type of talent. But if there's anyone that you want to push the envelope with, it's Micah Parsons. This is a generational talent for all the reasons you just described. He is a hand in glove fit for this new aggressive, violent style type of defense that Mike Vrabel and Jarrell Williams are already installing. Pat's seen it a lot on the field. We've seen it, in our observations of training camp.
Also from the East Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. You're also looking at a body of work here that supports that theory in terms of double-digit sacks. You're also talking about a very smart football player. Something that I don't think Micah gets enough credit for is directing traffic in that Cowboys defense, knowing exactly where guys need to be and making sure that everybody's doing his job up to full capacity. So when you hear that a player like that is available, yeah, you're willing to go the full gamut. In terms of how likely it is that New England brings him in, I believe our fans at sportsbetting.com are already weighing in and giving them 25-1 odds that he'll end up here in New England. Middle of the pack right now, believe it or not. 25-1 sounds like a real long shot, but that's about middle of the pack in terms of what they're granting. So I would say if you're the New England Patriots, with the assets, with the capital that you have, with the cap space and everything that you have working in your favor, yeah, you make the call, you make it right away, and you put on a full court press. It depends on what Micah's responsibilities are going to be, where he wants to go, what his wants are, what his needs are in order to satisfy what he feels is best for his career. I know he'll have a say in that, regardless of how acrimonious this relationship has become. There is still a respect to the player that I believe even the Jerry Jones-led Cowboys are not going to turn their back on. So, yes, is it possible? I'm not going to rain on Patriots fans' parades here and say that it's absolutely impossible. There are ways the Patriots can make this work. A few years ago, a player like this becomes available, and you would say, no way would the Patriots ever be involved because of the amount and the money. Everything just seemed to be working against it. Yeah, that possibility is much greater now, but in the long run, they're going to find themselves competing with a lot of teams right now that are salivating to get this guy in their uniform.
Yeah, there's pretty much, besides the Patriots, there's like 30 other teams that would be in the running.
would think.
Yeah, everybody should be.
So everyone should be. Who wouldn't want that guy on the team? And the contract is the contract, but it's gonna be what does some team value about giving up? And I don't want to burn a bunch of Pat's time talking about Micah Parsons, but it is the news of the day, and it's an interesting player. And the Patriots have been linked to, Trey Hendrickson and Terry McLaurin, and there's a lot of interesting talents on the market right now, and they do have the assets, they do have the cap room to go ahead and do it if they want to do something big and splashy. So I can see that. Pat, let's switch gears. Okay, we spent enough time on that. I want to get your thoughts. I want your biggest takeaway from training camp, from the practices that you've been to so far.
So I think my biggest takeaway really isn't even on the field necessarily. It's with the coaching staff and the way that things are being done over there, and specifically on the attention to detail, right? And I think that you know, and even before the pads went on, this is kind of stuff that when they're doing walkthroughs, when they're wearing shorts and t-shirts, it's all about the small things, the details of stuff, right? And so, you know, there was one specific play where, really, I think the first day of camp, they had 3 offensive lines going at the same time. They run the same play at half speed. And all 3 lines are running the same play. So you're getting maximum reps for everyone. No one's subbing in and out. Everyone's playing. Everyone's getting a rep at exactly the same time. I love that. I thought it was fantastic. And they're all running next to each other. And so when you go back and watch film, you can say, hey, this is how it's supposed to look. See this right guard? He's doing it. How come you're not doing it when you're at right guard? And so you can see it at the same time. You're not trying to, you know, put clips together and compare things and that. You can watch it at the same time. I like that. They also ran another drill where they ran a play action fake, and it was a counter fake. So they would, you know, you take the handoff, you fake it left, then you come back to the right, then the running back is there to the right. It's a play action fake, and it's a dump off. They ran it through at half speed, just walking. They stopped at the mesh point because they want to get exactly the same distance apart. Your feet need to be here. You're this far away from the guy. It's put in this spot. You pull it out, and then we throw it. And then those exact same 2 guys would come back and run it at full speed. And you know, you're just walking through, but still you're going through it. And so this is exactly how we want things to go, right? It's not, oh, well, you can do this. No, this is exactly what we want you to do. The other day, when I think it was on Wednesday, Vrabel was coaching up the tight ends, and he was talking to Hunter Henry, he was talking to Jaheim Bell, and he's talking to all these guys about, okay, here's your first step. This is what we want your first step to be. Because when you step here, you get a better, and of course I can't hear exactly what he's saying, but he's showing them.
But you're showing leverage.
Exactly. Your step needs to be this way and not that way. And so point your hips that way. And so it was really interesting and fascinating. And he spent a while with Jaheim Bell talking about blocking, and they're just talking about blocking in this situation. But like, it's the nonstop coaching on the little things. And, you know, Vrabel's been talking about it. You play smart football and you can take advantage of bad football. And that can change a loss into a win. And I think that focusing on those things, especially when you're not wearing pads, really, really makes a difference. And starting off that way, I think kind of has springboarded them in to where they are right now.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of, I think Patriots fans are excited. I think there's been a lot of national buzz and around the team. And I don't want to sit here and say, let's all get ready for the parade in February. Right. But I do think the foundation feels like it's been reset a bit. And because they're going through those details, right? I mean, Evan Lazar said on Patriots.com the other day, he mentioned how it looks like Drake May doesn't, or I forget, I'm paraphrasing for him, but like it looks like he isn't going into a new offense. Like he looks more comfortable, and that's something that Josh brings to the table that a lot of us would all agree we thought that would be the case coming in, but it's still great to hear from someone that knows ball like Evan does. And now you're getting, you know, really good offensive line instruction from Doug Marrone, and Mike Vrabel has really good with the front 7 and the offensive line. He's good at a lot of things, but he really loves that kind of battle. So he's kind of going through it. So it's exciting to see that we're getting some buzz, you know, from there. Well, looks like we got Steve on. Here we go. Steve, what's up, man?
Sorry, there he is.
I was having connectivity issues.
Yeah.
Steve, I was explaining to the masses that you had been detained and that you were sorry for your detainment.
I thought you were, I said you were being a vigilante and taking down bad guys. I wasn't sure what was the problem.
No, unfortunately, it was a simple,
just a simple connectivity issue.
Yeah, I apologize, Pat. I'm sorry, I'm late, but it's great to see you.
Don't worry about it. I'm glad you're here. It's nice. We got the full crew here today. It's been a while. I just talked to Mike a few months ago, which was cool. Now it's nice to, I haven't talked to you in quite a while, Steve. So this is cool.
Yeah.
And Derek and I had never
been a
connected
bit.
before, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, Pat, if we had met at training camp one time, like a long time ago, but I can't remember if we did or not.
I don't think so, only because I really have just been going as a fan and really not as a media member. I've been as a media member once or twice, but mostly it's just been in the crowd. And so, it's not really, there's a lot of people that I haven't met for that reason, people that cover the team. I remember, Mike, I walked in with you. I think it was the in-stadium practice, which is tonight, the in-stadium practice after the Rodney Harrison induction, I believe.
Absolutely.
We were hanging out at that event. So
that was great.
Geez, I don't even remember how many years. You know how long ago that was? That was when I said Jarrett Stidham was going to be the backup quarterback and the next starting quarterback for the Patriots. So I think it was 2019. So.
Steve, that was the night that we took the from right on the field, the videos for the fireworks that the Patriots set up. So the in-stadium practices are always a blast. And obviously anyone headed up there tonight, if you're listening to us live, please do so safely. Get to and from the stadium, as safely as possible. But you're in for a great night. If you haven't been before and this is your first opportunity to go up, enjoy every bit of it, because it really, really is a lot of fun. And there's a buzz surrounding this team. I think that's hit the nail right on the head. And being around the crowd, you feel it. It's different. Fans are anticipating more from their players than I've seen in the last couple of years, where there is an expectation that they're going to perform at a certain level. The fans in the last couple of years, for whatever reason, seem to have been, I think, malaise when it came to watching this team, and any little bit of good would be sufficient enough for them to walk away. Fans want more right now, and that's a good thing, because they're holding this team accountable, because they know the potential that's there. And I think they're keeping their realistic expectations, but at the same time, they're wanting that level, and they want to take it to that next level. It really is great to see. It feels like Patriots football is back.
Yeah, which is always great news. And if anyone's listening, I think I said this on the last show, and all four of us can attest to this. Like, if you get to go to the in-stadium practice or training camp, it's such a great experience. There's no better value as a fan. I mean, especially if you have young kids. And like tonight, if you're going to be at the stadium, they're going to be signing autographs and shaking hands, and that'll be a cool moment. So, that'll be great for them. And they usually, with Bill, they never went balls to the wall, I would say. But with Vrabel, who knows? He's been running things a little bit differently. So, it's kind of interesting. Pat, something Steve and I were talking about earlier, off air, and something you just brought up. You were talking about, Vrabel kind of coaching up the tight ends, and you mentioned Jaheim Bell. And I know Steve wants to touch on this too. There's C.J. Dupree's the undrafted free agent. I thought Brock Lampy might have a shot at doing this, but he's been placed on IR. I just wonder, as I look through the roster spots on the Patriots depth chart, they don't have a third tight end. And I wonder if they're going to try to make one of these guys that's on the roster currently like a third tight end / maybe play some fullback snaps. Because traditionally, Josh McDaniels has had a fullback. And you usually would have 3 tight ends. But I don't know if that's going to be the case, because you're probably going to have 9 offensive linemen. You're going to have at least 2 tight ends. You're probably going to have 6 receivers. You're going to have 2 quarterbacks. So there's only so many spots that are available, on that side. Is there anyone that's kind of caught your eye there, or what do you think about that whole concept?
Yeah, so the Lampy thing is sad, because he looked really good in the first day of pads. And it's funny, because we did a show on Monday night, and I had said to Matt during the show, I was just like, I just don't know how well he can hold up. That's what we're gonna have to see. He looked great today, but we'll see. And then of course it's on IR the next day. But on Tuesday, when they were in full pads, it was Jack Westover that was playing fullback, and looked okay doing it, looked competent at least doing it. I don't see Jaheim Bell as that kind of guy. He's just not that kind of guy. He's not a great blocker. And so he's more of kind of an H-back guy. And that's not the fullback in a McDaniel system is very much a downhill lead blocking fullback.
Mm-hmm.
That is not who Jaheim Bell is. Maybe they'll try to make him that guy. I don't see it. And so I actually don't think there's a spot for him on this roster, but I could be wrong. But that's what I see. CJ Dupree is a guy that I am a huge fan of. I think he's the best blocking tight end, the best pure blocking tight end the Patriots have. However, I don't know what his movement skills are. I don't know how comfortable he is playing a fullback type position. I think if you wanted just an inline blocking tight end and that was going to be your third tight end, I really thought if Lampy had made the team, that Dupree could make the team as the third tight end, right? But if Westover is going to make the team as the third tight end / really fullback, then I don't know if you have a spot for a fourth tight end, right? And so I kind of look at it and think like, Westover's probably going to be that guy that's that third tight end / fullback, unless someone else proves they can do it. Because I've seen him do it already on the practice field. He looked okay doing it. Not amazing. He was, he's not the next Sam Gash or, whatever, but he looked good enough doing it that he theoretically could be able to do it.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting thing because as you start to go through the roster, right, you have 53 players, and in my mind, you have 4 specialists. You have your long snapper, your kicker, your punter, and Brendan Schooler, right?
Yep.
So that leaves you 49. And then all of a sudden, so now you're at either 24 or 25 on, offensive or defensive players. And so I do think as we're getting down to the nitty gritty, we'll see how it shakes out. But I do think that versatility could come in common. And I do want to circle back to something before I let you go, but I know Steve wants to touch on this and I want to get him involved. So Steve, what's your take on this?
Yeah. And, when it comes to that third tight end / fullback, one of the things it was actually 2 that intrigued me about the possibility of Bell was after practice the other day, they showed Vrabel staying after practice with Bell one-on-one going through blocking techniques. And, it struck me. It was like, well, he's kind of like that move tight end. So why are they working on this? And then to top it off, Heath Evans, the former Patriot fullback. I don't know if you saw it, Pat.
No.
He posted a quick video the other day, and he talked about in 2005, because the Patriots were so injury-riddled at tailback, he made the team as a tailback. But in 2006, Belichick brought him in and said, there's no place for you on this football team. And you have 6 weeks to learn how to become a fullback, or, you're going to be gone, basically. And Evans said, he wasn't trying to be an a-hole. He was trying to tell me, you have to learn something new. And, the clock is ticking. So he said, so I learned how to be a fullback. And, he had a pretty good long career with the Patriots. That just kind of, intrigued me that both of those happened within the same time frame.
It's a great point. I mean, it's a great point. And I think in an ideal world, if you could get Jaheim Bell to play fullback and be, adequate at it, I think that would be your best bet because he is the guy that has the best movement skills in that tight end group. And so he would be an actual weapon out of the backfield catching the ball. And so I wouldn't necessarily blame them for trying it. I think, for me, I would look at it and say, yeah, try him, try Westover, and try Dupree. If you think that those guys, even try G. Scott if you think that he could be a guy. We've seen some nice receiving stuff out of G. Scott as well, in training camp. And so give all those guys a shot at fullback. If you don't think you're going to keep 3 tight ends, but you're going to keep a fullback, and you're not picking up a fullback off the waiver wire, well, then one of those tight ends got to be your fullback. And so pick the one of the four that, that works the best, and then hope that, the other guys make it onto the practice squad. And I could certainly see Bell doing it. I just don't know. I don't know if he's the best option, but if he could do it, I think that would be a great fit for the Patriots.
The other thing, Pat, that I wanted to mention to you too, and I brought this up to Steve as well, is that, I do think Josh McDaniels has, he has had in the past a fullback on the roster, but he's also a little underrated in the way that he's adapted offenses, and we saw different iterations of offenses that he ran throughout the years, and those were either run dominant, or the Randy Moss, Wes Welker thing, or the two tight end, or even with Cam Newton during the COVID season,
Right.
and I could really see him being intrigued with Drake May as a quarterback, because let's not forget, this is a guy that drafted Tim Tebow, was interested in Baker Mayfield by reports, as well as Lamar Jackson, and has wanted that mobility there. Also has used two running backs there in the past. And you have guys you have two pass catching backs like Antonio Gibson and Travion Henderson flanking Drake May in the shotgun on either side. And then you have a 3 receiver set. You could really do a lot of interesting things and spread the field and stress defenses in different ways. So I wonder, maybe it is something that I've thought that he's that he's a fullback, but I want to see what Josh McDaniels does with Drake, because I think the opportunities are really limitless with those two together. I'm really fascinated by it. As long as Drake is confident and comfortable in the system, stays healthy, and doesn't turn over the football.
It's a great point. And I think May last year, what do you have, one design run last year? Right. And you saw and listen, Cam Newton in his prime is one of the most, fearsome running quarterbacks in NFL history for those few seasons. Right. I mean, the 2015 season was incredible, and so I'm not expecting Drake May to do that, but, to your point, to have weapons out of the backfield, to have, a good running game, I think is going to be a good running game. And listen, we can have questions about Will Campbell, and I'm sure there's a lot more questions about Morgan Moses. I think there should be a lot more questions about Morgan Moses than there is about Will Campbell. But one thing is true about Morgan Moses and Mike Almanu and Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, from what we had seen when he played at Georgia, is they're all good running blockers. They're all good run blockers, all of them. And so you have that offensive line where you feel good about the run blocking of that offensive line. And you have running backs behind him that are explosive and dynamic. And it looks like Ramondre is in a little bit better shape this year than he was last year. Now all of a sudden Drake May becomes a real problem with the ball in his hands, right? And then that opens things up for the passing game. It opens things up for everyone else. And I think that McDaniels, to your point, can get very creative with the plays, and can make a play look one way or the other. They're already running RPOs, and sometimes they're not throwing it, but they're already practicing RPOs, and we're a few days into practice here. So that's going to be part of the game for sure. And I think that, I'm really excited to see what McDaniels does, because it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how it shakes out. But the dynamic ability of May to not only push the ball down the field accurately, but run the ball as well, it could really, really open the door for the Patriots this year.
Yeah, and I loved the quote I heard from Drake May earlier today. I saw the video circling around Twitter. He's like, I know I need to go ahead and protect my body and take care of myself, but at the same time, if it's 3rd and goal and I'm within the 10-yard line, I'm going for it. For it. I'm 6'5", 230. I'm going for it. And I was like, man, that was such a fun quote. Mike and Steve, I'm sure you guys have questions for Pat. Pat, I don't know how much more time you have on the show. So
we'll get some time.
Okay. Mike, to you first. What anything for Pat?
Yeah, Pat, just an offshoot on what you were just saying about Drake May. I think one of the things that I've noticed most about Drake is his willingness to maybe trust his teammates a little bit more. Maybe that's coming with a little bit more of seasoning. Maybe that's coming with a year of experience. But I also think that's coming from competent coaching. And I think it is a McDaniels factor. I think it is a rebellion factor that we're seeing in him, especially on Monday. The pads are on. He may have a little bit more, spring in his step in terms of trying to push the envelope. This was a crossing concept, and instead of trying to force the ball or instead of trying to make something happen, he was very content just short of the goal line, drop it to Antonio Gibson. Gibson runs the ball in, and you could see everyone on the sidelines. You could see the coaches. I watched specifically how the coaches reacted, and that really told me everything I needed to know about how this team is kind of moving in the right direction, because that type of temperance that we saw from Drake is not something we would have seen out of North Carolina Drake, maybe not even last year's Drake. So have you been seeing that same type of thing? How much confidence does that instill in you that this offense could turn more heads than a lot of people are expecting?
Oh, absolutely, Mike. I mean, and just to the point that he hasn't thrown a pick yet. And listen, I mean, again, we're not out here saying like he's gonna light the world on fire and never throw an interception again. But the fact that he hasn't thrown an interception tells me that he's not forcing some of those passes. He understands what's going on really well. And one thing he was talking about Pop Douglas, and he was saying, it's just a little bit of an offhanded comment, but he said he's always in the right spot. I always know where Pop Douglas is going to be.
He's going to be a monster here.
Yeah, I really do. I think so too. But I think that, it's one of those things where like he trusts those guys because they're more trustworthy. Right. Last year, Jalen Polk didn't know where to line up. He wasn't where he needed to be. Is Jalen Polk running with Drake May? Not much anymore. Now you got Stephon Diggs, you got Kayshon Boutte, and you got Pop Douglas, and Kyle Williams is doing an okay job. They've had a few miscommunications here, and he's a rookie. It's it'll happen, but for the most part, he has that time. He had great chemistry with Boutte last year. I think that they've continued upon that. Him and Pop had great chemistry last year as well. That's obviously continued. And as you said, Derek, I think he's primed for a huge season. And Diggs is a professional receiver. He's a great route runner, very reliable. And so I think that, all those things kind of add up to, he should be feeling a lot more comfortable. I also think, Mike, your point about the coaching staff kind of getting excited about plays. It was, for people that watched that, the variable mic'd up, right? Him yelling at Drake May to go down and celebrate with his offense, right? I think it's great. And it brought me back to 2009 when they did the football life of Belichick and followed him around that year. And he's in the
it was against it was the play against the Chargers in the film room.
Was it the Chargers where, he's like, this guy makes a great defensive play and no one's celebrating with him. He's like, we worked our asses off for that. Go celebrate. You know what I mean? And that's the type of stuff like, I know these coaches are hard ass coaches or whatever, but they get it. It's really hard. You should be celebrating. Okay, let's not get a 15-yard penalty or something like that. But we just scored a touchdown. Go freaking celebrate with your teammates. I know it's training camp. It doesn't matter. We're still putting an emphasis on that. When we score, it's a big deal no matter who we're scoring against or when we're scoring.
And like Mike Vrabel said, right after Drake got back from celebrating, after he told him to celebrate, to your point, right. He said, how many touchdowns did you guys score? Not enough, or whatever, which is true. I mean, you should be celebrating these kind of wins. You take those small wins. Steve, over to you, bud.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys touched on this earlier, but it seems to me like Drake May has a really good comfort level in McDaniels' offense.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be kind of clunky. I mean, it's a brand new thing. They had their issues earlier in the spring, but it seems like right now everything's going pretty smoothly. And he just, you can tell by his body language and the way he's talking about things that I think he's farther along in McDaniels' offense than I thought he would be at this juncture. I didn't know what your thoughts were.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that, there's many levels to that, right? I think part of it is that they did have this full off season together, and they were able to put in a lot of that work at OTAs. And, I think him throwing the 4 interceptions in OTAs was important because, you want that. You want to be testing the limits of where am I, what can I do, and what can I look at? And you learn from that. And I think the other part of that too is the receivers are better. The running backs are a little bit more reliable this year, I think, a little bit more explosive this year, I think. And I think the offensive line is significantly better. I mean, last year, at the beginning of camp last year, and my co-host Matt St. Jean tweeted out, after the first day, like, this seems like the first day of camp since like 2021, where we weren't like, oh my God, the Patriots are totally screwed because they can't run the ball. Like they like look competent. Now, are they going to be the best offensive line in the league? No, but they look like they're going to be a competent offensive line. And so May can go back into the pocket knowing my receivers are reliable and are going to get to where I need them to be. My running backs are available as an outlet and can make plays if I get them the ball. And my offensive line is going to get me killed on every play, and I'm going to have a little bit of time. And so you combine all of that with the teaching skills of McDaniels, the teaching skills of Vrabel, and and what I feel like is just a full culture shift, right? And this is Drake May taking his team over, right? Last year wasn't Drake May's team. Last year was Jacoby Brissett's team, and Drake May was there, but he was a rookie, and he was just kind of following along. This year is Drake May's team. Everyone knows it's Drake May's team, right? It's been Drake May's team since the season, since the end of the year last year. Everyone knows this is his team. This is where he's going. And so I think he's really embraced that. And I'm sure he's put in a ton of work behind the scenes to get to this point. But he looks so much more comfortable back there. You're right, Steve. And I think that's a big part of it. And it's everyone around him, the players and the coaches around him, and the work that he's putting in as well.
And the turnover thing is definitely a concern with Drake May. I would say that's my biggest fear. I'm not worried about him learning a second offense because I do think that McDaniels is going to be here for a while. And I think that McDaniels will put him in good position. But my biggest criticism of him from his rookie season is, well, twofold. I think he needs to protect himself better when he does scramble. And I think he needs to cut down the turnovers. And there's a huge gap when you cut down turnovers. Look at Jameis Winston, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Jameis Winston, and then switching to Tom Brady the following year. They cut down on turnovers by like 26 from the quarterback position. I want to say it was like, because I think he threw 30 touchdowns and
30 picks.
Yeah, and then I think he also had like 8 or 9 fumbles. Off the top of my head. And then I think Brady had like 13 total the following year. So it's like you change that, and all of a sudden it becomes easier to score points and keep the ball in your possession and to go ahead and control field position better and
100%.
Not give up free points. And like Drake needs to do better with that because the thing is that he has a live arm and he's learning because he was a rookie last year and he's learning NFL speed. He's seeing what he can get away with. And the good news is that he's going up against a really good defense in practice every all summer, and so I think that's important too. But that is going to be one of those things.
I'm going to give you a hot take.
I love it.
If Drake May has less than 10, and I might even go to 15, but if Drake May has less than 10 turnovers this year, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be livid if Drake May has less than 10 turnovers this year. And the reason why is because he's going to make mistakes. I want him to have that gunslinger mentality and to throw it all over the field and to sometimes think there's no human being that can make that pass, but I can make that pass. I want him to think that. I don't want him to do it all the time, but I want him to think that sometimes. We're not winning the Super Bowl this year, right? And so I want him to push the boundaries of what he can and can't do to truly figure out what he can do. I want him to take chances. I want those things to happen this year. This is a learning year. And I don't want him to turn the ball over 30 times, right? But I want him to turn the ball over, a little bit, because then you learn where those limits are, right? You're
Mhm.
pushing those limits, and I want him to go right up to those limits because that's where he can be the best that he can be. Josh Allen has turnovers. He turns the ball over, but he knows where he can go, and he's limited those turnovers because he figured out, all right, this is as far as I can go. This is my top level right here. I can't go above that. If I go above that, I'm in trouble. But I can get away with this much. And he becomes an elite quarterback, wins MVP last year, right? And I think in order for Drake to get to that level, he needs to find out where that is. And that's going to take some getting used to. And I'm going to be okay with it. I want him to push the ball down the field. I want him to make some turnover worthy throws because that's what it's going to take to get there. And so that's kind of my hot take for the year is that I want those turnovers to be a little high.
I mean, I think it's fair. I just, like you said, you want him to test the limits, but you don't want it to be excessive.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
yes.
But it wasn't it the year, Steve or Mike or Pat? I mean, anyone, I guess. Wasn't it the year the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl? Wasn't it like one of the last games of the year, the Bills, where they beat the Bills, and I don't know if anyone remembers this or not, but I remember Josh Allen just sailing like a 3rd and 5, like crossing route to a receiver, totally sailed it, turned it over.
Sounds right.
And I remember seeing that multiple times in like his first couple of seasons, and I was like, man, this kid doesn't get it. And then it kind of just clicked because I feel like he was figuring out, his arm is so live that he was figuring out. And Pat, I don't know if you were there. Were you there at practice the other day when Drake was rolling out to his right and threw the 55-yard bomb to Pop, or no?
That's the
Or
one
Mike, were you
practice I've
there?
missed so far. I missed 2 practices. That was one of them.
Oh, okay.
And,
But I was going to say
that was
my point was that that's the ability that Drake brings to the table.
Yes.
Like this is not a shot at Mac Jones. Okay, I don't need to punch down on Mac Jones, but like that's a throw that I know Mac Jones can't make
correct.
that I know that Drake can. And that's where, it's like you're going to roll out and then throw it off 1 foot, 55 yards on a frozen rope
Right.
over a defensive back and hit somebody in stride. That's a special kind of, ability.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm keeping an eye on the time, Pat. Are we still good for a few more minutes, or?
Yeah, I got like 5 minutes or so. I will say when Josh first came into the league, my dad and I both said like, great athlete.
Oh yeah,
can't play quarterback, right? And he is the one. I said he's going to ruin quarterback evaluation forever.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Richardson got drafted in the top 5 because of Josh
Preach
Allen.
on this, buddy. Preach.
Because Josh Allen came out of college. If he fell out of a boat, he couldn't hit water. Like it just like it wasn't. He couldn't do it. And so, but then he figured it out. So then it was like, well, maybe Anthony Richardson will figure it out. You never know. Like he didn't do it in college either, but he could. Josh Allen didn't do it in college, and so it's it's this thought process, but it's the work that goes on behind the scenes isn't, that's not what gets talked about. He put that work in to get better, and the Bills surrounded him with a better offensive line, and they picked up Stephon Diggs. Those 2 things changed everything along with his work. And so now guess who's here with the Patriots? Stephon Diggs. And so, I think as the receiving room gets a little bit better, and as the offensive line gets a little bit better, and as Drake continues to put that work in and get better coaching, I think that we could see that progression from him. It doesn't have to be as stark as what Allen's was, but I think we can see some of that progression from him.
So I would just say that to your point about ruining quarterback evaluation, I couldn't agree more, because as Bill Parcells would say, if they don't bark as puppies, they're not going to bite as dogs. And he was sailing everything all over the place. And you saw guys like you've seen, like we're all, everyone who's listening to the show knows like Johnny Manziel and like the sensation he was at Texas A&M. And he flamed out. Well, it's not the same thing as someone who comes in with like this raw athletic ability, and you don't normally see it transform and flip after a couple of years. It's usually like kind of an all or nothing situation, and you just don't get that. There are people that you miss the boat on, like Brock Purdy. I don't think anything super special of Brock Purdy, but he's an NFL quarterback who's perfectly capable of running Kyle Shanahan's system, and literally everybody passed on him 7 times. so
Yeah.
it's like there are guys there, that you get those Cam Newtons, going back to our conversation earlier, that are action heroes that are winning Heisman trophies and national championships and have all these accolades and come in and win Rookie of the Year and MVP, and there are those stories, but you don't always get the Josh Allens that totally flip it. And I don't know if Drake will ever get to that level. Let's hope and knock on wood as Patriots fans that he does, because Josh is a hell of a player. But it is a testament to Josh Allen that he was able to harness his ability, because it was crazy. Since you have such limited time, I won't ask you any more questions. Steve and I can always talk about, Steve and Mike and I can always talk about things afterwards. But Mike or Steve, I'll go to Mike first. You guys have one more question for Pat before we let him go?
No, I'm going to cede my time. I know Pat's on a tight schedule, but just wanted to say it's always an honor to share the microphone with you. The knowledge that you provide, my friend, is second to none. So thank you for coming on today. We look forward to talking with you again here on Patriots No Huddle really soon. Maybe we can get Matt St. John. I need another fire here to kind of lighten the mood here a little bit.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe we can fit 5 heads on the screen. We'll try to do the best we can. But
well, listen,
thank you.
The more heads you fit, the less of me you got to see. So it works out. You know what I mean? But no, I feel the same way, Mike. I really appreciate it. It's been it's fun, and it's always fun talking with you guys. I appreciate it. This was really cool, and I'll be on anytime you guys want.
Yeah, we'll get you back. We'll get you back here on a short order. Steve, you got anything else for Pat before we let him go?
No, I apologize for being late again, but no, it's a pleasure, man. It's been too long, and let's do this again real soon.
Absolutely, that sounds good. Thanks so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Pat, just tell people real fast where they can find you.
Yes, sir. So I'm on Pat's Pulpit, writer for Pat's Pulpit. I wrote an article about Will Campbell the other day. I'm working on a 53-man roster projection right now.
No, we can dig into that.
And so that'll be fun. And we have our podcast, the Pats Nation Network podcast. And so you can go on and find us on YouTube or anywhere you download podcasts.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, we'll continue the conversation. I know you're getting ready to go to the in-stadium practice.
Yeah.
Looking to see your commentary on X. So we'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks again, guys.
Right,
take care.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, that was Pat Lane from Pat's Pulpit. Such a good conversation. Such a great dude. Good to get his perspective. We obviously just went through that whole thing, but Mike, I want to pick your brain over the practices that you've been to recently. Any observations that you feel like you want to bring to the table that we didn't touch on yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we haven't talked a whole lot of defense yet.
No, let's get into
and there are elements definitely of this team that I think are really starting to shine through. Kyrus Tonga is a professional football player, folks. I know this was an under-the-radar signing for the Patriots in the offseason, but Steve, we talked about this a little bit the last time we took the microphone. If you're moving away from that two-gapping middle and you're moving for someone that's a traditional nose, someone that can come in and stuff the run, Tonga is someone that has looked great so far. He's winning his one-on-one battles. He's looked great in team drills. I really love what this kid can bring to the front seven, especially the middle part of that defensive line. To me, I think this could be one of the more underrated, but one of the more decorated signings for the New England Patriots this offseason.
Yeah, I think he's underrated. I've also heard, and I haven't seen, I've seen some footage and I've read some commentary, but I feel like Alex Austin's having a pretty good, offseason or, too, which is exciting. And the other player I'm going to bring up as well is Craig Woodson. So if we're talking about the defense and we're flipping the other side of the coin and we're talking about maybe 3 players that aren't getting as much love as maybe they should, Well, Craig Woodson really does play an interesting role in the defense, and he has been getting some high praise. And if Alex Austin is going to go ahead and build, let's not forget that Alex Austin had a really strong end to the last season. And so he's rolling that now into another year, which is super exciting. So those three players could be under the radar factors, I think, for some people. And I know they're not Stephon Diggs or Will Campbell or Drake May, or Milton Williams or whatever, but they're still valuable players. And like you said about Tonga, he's an NFL, player, and Austin looks like he's turning himself into an NFL quality cornerback who could be in the top 4 rotation. And Craig Woodson was a day 2 pick that does bring a different kind of element to the defensive backfield for the Patriots because he has that speed. And maybe he's not the thumper, but if he has the ability to cover or to play free over the middle, that would be huge for them as well. Steve, what are your thoughts on those 3 guys?
Yeah, those guys are all, as we say, bearing fruit so far, right? And that's always a good sign when you see, guys that aren't as highly
touted or whatever.
Touted or thought of. I mean, that's what made those Patriots teams under Bill so well because he would pick up guys. And, as Vrabel said, build a team, find yourself a role. Belichick always did that. He'd pick up these guys that we used to call the middle class, and they would all fulfill valuable roles. Another guy, those 3 guys you mentioned are all playing very well. Caleb Von Chason, right? A bust and early part of his career. He came on at the end of last year, and a lot of people questioned whether he was worth signing for the Patriots because maybe it was just one flash, but I think he's showing that the light has come on for him. And for some guys, it takes longer, and for him, it's going to be 5 years. So,
well, the other thing too, Steve, is it's Caleb Von Chason is you could make the comparison to like someone like Cole Strange, where he might be considered a bust for where he was, drafted originally because he was a very high pick. But to Chason's point, I think he's turned himself into a solid player. And I think he's found his niche, and he's a rotational defensive end that can bring some pass rush and has had production and has elevated that. And Cole Strange, I don't think is a terrible offensive lineman that doesn't offer versatility, but he was picked in the first round, so the bar is going to be set higher than that. So that's sometimes people, you look at where they were selected, and you have to forget it wasn't their choice to be selected that position. That was a team's decision, and maybe it just didn't fit, or maybe they just need more time to kind of marinate before they were able to elevate their game. So I think that's something that needs to be considered as well. Mike, what else about the defense has kind of caught your eye?
Well, I think Steve bringing up Chason is definitely a very good observation. He's looked great, a lot of aggression, and again, he's fitting very well into this type of defense. I see your Caleb Von Chason. I'm going to raise you a DJ James. DJ has looked great. And look, I know camp is very unforgiving sometimes to players that come in with a pedestrian resume or maybe not much of a resume, and they start to play well. They start to stack 2 or 3 good days in a row, and all of a sudden they become the camp darling. They become the guy that everyone's looking to be the next unsung hero that's going to come out of the woodwork and be a solid contributor to this team. I still think we need to see more out of DJ, but the thing that I love about the way that this kid plays is that he started off as purely a slot prospect. Especially with the Seahawks. That's how they used him in the practice squad, playing in Seattle last year. But you go back and you look at his time in Oregon, and especially at Auburn. This kid played very well along the perimeter. He's got no fear whatsoever about showcasing his physicality. Some may tell you he might be a little undersized for the perimeter. Listed at 5'11", 184 pounds. But the way this kid plays, is a lot bigger and a lot more bravado than a man of that size. So he's going to go up and he's going to make you fight for every single catch, every single play. And his ability will give him the opportunity to win those battles more than he loses them. He even said it, a couple of days ago when we spoke with him in the media. He says, look, this is, a situation where I'm going to come in, I see a play, I'm going to try to make it. I feel that I can do that. I'm always around the ball. And he spoke in the third person, which I like because it shows a little bit of maybe extra confidence. And I like that in a cornerback. But, he comes up and says, I'm always around. DJ James is always around the ball. He always gets around the ball. And I think that's something you enjoy seeing in a young player that's trying to make a name for himself. So once again, you're seeing that extra confidence in the Patriots defense that we haven't seen in the last couple of years. But I think someone like a Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams are definitely there to keep it in check and make sure it doesn't run too free and flow. But at the same time, you want that with those guys because it's the only way they're going to learn. It's the only way that the coaching staff is going to see what these guys can truly do. I'm really impressed with DJ so far.
No, that's interesting. That is definitely what I don't know if unsung hero is the right word, but he definitely hasn't been talked about as much and I'm happy that with you being down there, that's interesting to know. So, something to keep an eye on.
He made an interception on opening day, and I think that opened everyone's eyes, and everyone's like, "Ooh, wow, what's that? Who's that number 30? Who is that guy?" And all of a sudden you start to hear rumblings about, and then all of a sudden, people start doing their research on Google and whatnot, and you hear, "Oh yeah, well, he was a practice squatter last year with Seattle," and all of a sudden the chatter starts to grow a little bit. But each and every day he comes out there, and you're seeing him align with some of the starters, and now especially with the fact that, all right, well, at least Carlton Davis is back in the lineup, he's back on the field, but with Christian out, he aligned with Carlton on the top cornerback tandem with the first team defense. And he looked pretty good doing it over on Wednesday, which was when this team was still in full pads and they were still going full gamut. So speaks very well about the way this Patriots defense and especially the coaching staff is viewing him so far.
Yeah,
we have a question, and I don't know.
We talked about it before you were on, but we can answer it again. I see here. I can post it. It's from Chris, right?
Oh, okay. Never mind.
No, it's okay. Well, we can recap it real fast. So I opened the show talking about it because it's the news of the day, and the Patriots. Steve, just to catch you up, the Patriots have the assets, they have the cap room, and he's going to be paid the most amount of money a defensive player in NFL history when it's all said and done. Chris, Adam Schefter tweeted out. He's wondering what it would take to get Micah Parsons out of Dallas, and Adam Schefter tweeted out what Khalil Mack got, and I think it'd be probably comparable. You're probably talking about 2 first-round picks, maybe a mid-round pick. There were some other picks exchanged and everything, but you're talking about paying this guy very high-end money. But he's 26, incredibly productive, and I do think they could do it. It is hard. Let me ask you guys this, Steve, because you weren't here for the beginning of the conversation, but you can answer this now. And then Mike, you were here for the conversation, but I'll slightly shift it just to go back into this, because this is more of a philosophy, team building question than anything. Right. Steve, if I told you, who cares about the money? Like, I don't care about the team's cap space. We'll figure it out. I'll leave that up to Miguel and everybody else. I'm but they have cap room. We'll figure it out. They have the draft capital. But could you make the argument every single team would take Micah Parsons on their roster? I mean, he's one of the best players in football. But at the same time, could you make the argument the Patriots, it's something that Pat said, talking about something different earlier, was the Patriots are not winning the Super Bowl this year. But even if they're building and you want to add talent, like, that's great, but is it worth giving up multiple first-round picks when you're a building team? Now, if you had this capital when you were a team on the cusp, I think it's a no-brainer, but is it something that you're willing to do as a Patriots fan if your team is still building and you could use those first rounders to keep building onto those onto the pillars of your team to build your team forward? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And honestly, look, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you're on the cusp where you think you can compete and you need a little push to get over the top to win a Super Bowl, then you make this deal every time.
Of course.
However, I do not believe he's going to leave Dallas. This seems like so Jerry Jones. He does this all the time. He digs in his heels, no, we're not going to pay you this. And then all of a sudden, boom, the deal gets done. Everybody's happy. I think Jerry just loves doing this stuff. I don't know why, but maybe just because he gets bored, whatever. But I think there's no way that Micah Parsons leaves Dallas.
Mm-hmm. I think it's asinine that Dallas and Jerry Jones's comments and everything. I just think the whole situation is crazy. Just Mike, because we already talked about it, and I want to finish up here in the next few minutes because we were hitting an hour mark now, and there's one or two other things I want to talk about. But because we did talk about the Parsons situation from a philosophy standpoint, where do you stand on that? Because it is kind of interesting, like a 26-year-old, super productive, incredible athlete hitting the market at the right time, team is available, has the assets, has the money, but does it make sense or does that interrupt what they're trying to build for if they're not going to be in the playoffs for maybe a year and maybe not in contention for 2 or 3 more years?
Assuming he is truly available, and again, I think Steve makes an interesting point.
I
There
agree
does
with
seem to
Steve,
be a
I do
little
too.
Jerry Jones drama behind this, and we'll see how it all plays out. But assuming he is actually available and the Patriots have the ability to bring him in, I still say a generational talent is something you can't pass on. You have to try to take every opportunity to increase the value of your team. And Michael Parsons is that guy. He's not just someone that can come in and upgrade you on a talent basis, but he's someone that's so cerebral and knows the game of football so well that he will be an asset in a situation where he feels comfortable and he feels appreciated. Now, if you're the Patriots and you feel that he's going to have difficulty fitting in no matter where he is because of those reasons, yeah, that might give me pause. But everything that I've read or everything that I've heard about Micah says that he embraces and loves the game of football. And I think if he does feel like he's a part of this team and he feels he's in a place where he can succeed and be himself and be comfortable, he'll give 110% to that organization. So based
And
on
he
that,
could be on your team in his prime for like 6 to 7 years.
exactly. And so based on that,
And
based on
he's
all of that
versatile,
factors,
so you can move him around.
absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, you look at the skill set, there's no question about it. I mean, you make that call every day of the week and twice on Sunday, just from a pure skill set perspective. But all the intangibles that come along with it, yeah, he's too much of a generational talent to lay off it. I have a difficult time walking away if everything aligns the way it is for the New England Patriots right now.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, look, this is going to sound like a shot at Trey, but we talked about Trey Henderson the other day, and what he's done in the league the last couple of years, and about the Patriots being interested in him. We talked about him versus like Terry McLaurin, and with respect to both of those guys, they're both excellent players, phenomenal players, but I wouldn't necessarily put either one of those in the generational talent category that I would put Parsons in.
Right.
And that's why we've spent so much time talking about it on the show, because it is kind of interesting because he can fit. If you can't make a player like that fit in your defense, I don't care what scheme you're running the wrong scheme,
Right.
because he can do it all. You can move him on the edge. You could drop him in coverage. You can put him in the middle. There's so many things that you can do. I mean, guys his size shouldn't move the way that he's able to move. So that's why we've kind of spent a little time on it today. I'll ask you both a question here, and then we'll close it out. So, Steve, anything else you want to bring to the table here for today's conversation?
No, sorry guys that I
It's all right.
was tardy today, but stuff happens.
It's what it is. Mike, any other topics you want to bring to the table? Any final thought or anything like that?
No, I just think, heading into now this next week, we're obviously 1 week from today, gentlemen, the New England Patriots will be playing preseason football. I think it's extremely exciting to think about that concept. Things that if you're going to be at practices this week, folks, that you want to be watching for, watch how these different units align. Who's aligning with the first team, second team? Could give you a little bit of a heads up as to who you're going to see play extensively in that first preseason game. Going to be a lot of fun to watch this team out on the field for the first time. I, for one, cannot wait.
Yeah, I would say I would say it's so exciting to watch. If you're able to go, if you're listening to the show and you're able to go to see joint practice, it's absolutely worth every single dollar. Which it's free, which but it's an amazing opportunity to go as fans, and really get behind the scenes. I think one thing you have to keep in mind is that coaches talk about things they want to do, plays they want to run, guys they want to test. So you have to keep that stuff in mind. But I think the joint practices, I would argue, and I'm sure you both would agree, that they're more valuable to watch than preseason games. Like the joint practices are really where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
So that's one of those things here. But we'll talk. I haven't talked to the for everyone listening. I haven't talked to Steve or Mike, and we'll talk off air, but I'm sure we'll have a show before the next preseason game, and then we'll have a show following. I'm not sure exactly what we'll talk about, but I have a feeling we got to discuss the roster a little bit more in depth, some expectations, and then we'll just get our reaction to what we saw as observations for after the preseason. But Mike, do you want to take us out, bud? Because I always
Absolutely.
I need your outro.
Absolutely. Always my pleasure. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on the microphone today. Always a pleasure to be a part of this triumvirate and talk Pats football. Thank you for all who listened live, and thank you for all of you who are listening to us on our playback on YouTube. Definitely make sure to subscribe, to follow Patriots No Huddle by following and subscribing to the Pats Fans account on YouTube, and of course, wherever you get your podcasts. Always want to do so to make sure that you get the latest episode as soon as it's available. If you are heading this evening on Friday to the Patriots open practice that is going to be held inside the friendly confines of Gillette Stadium, please do so carefully to and from. Enjoy the night. It's a great one. You're going to have a great time. And of course, we always appreciate you making Patriots No Huddle a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. On behalf of the great Derek Havens, my Patriots paisan Steve Balistreri, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, and to be the change that you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here next time on Patriots No Huddle.